Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the show. This is your Jee Sifu, and today is another interesting Taoism and Taoism magic talk show. So today we're going to continue from the previous episode talking about some news, and this is the second news that I have encountered, which is very crazy. It goes to some people in Australia. They believe that, like in some native uh, tribes or whatever, they believe that by using some slimes from a frog, will be able to detox and exorcise evil things out of people. And guess what happened? People like did that and can die from it. It went on the news. Oh mine. I forgot the exact word for that slime, but it was like something they have to scrape off the frog, and it's like really nasty. And they claim to be saying that this will help you detox. For like they have been using it for many hundreds of years. Now, this is what I want to say. Things are not better because they're ancient, especially when it comes to religion, magic, and that kind of thing, right? Taoism as well, same thing. Because it's old, it's not like, oh yeah, many people doing it for a long time. It doesn't mean that it's right. Many people do wrong and bad things for many years. Think about it. Human has been stealing, robbing, killing for thousands of years. So what? So it's like I'm just carrying on the tradition. I'm just robbing, just like people back in the old days. Right? People used to eat dog meat, human. Are you going to do that? That's like an old culture. Is it right? Is it good to do? Right? Just think about it, right? Come on. Some frog, slime. You have better things to eat, right? But anyway, they believe that it's going to help them detox. Now, this is the word detoxification. Okay, what is detox? What are you trying to get? Like, what's so toxic inside you? What is toxic? What is the problem? Right? Religion, magic, sorcery, whatever you want to call that, right? Will not deal with physical toxification. Like if you get something toxic, like you ate something wrong, and that stuff goes into your body and it starts like killing your body, toxic, right? Hurting your body. Magic cannot fix these problems. Okay, I'm just saying that, like right up here, anyone learning any kind of magic, including magic from my lineage, right? Anyone, remember this. If you ate something wrong, you cannot use magic to deal with it. It's the wrong tool. Okay? It's like someone saying my window is like not moving, like not sliding properly. When I slide the window, it goes okay, so it's like jamming up. You need some lube or to clean up the stuff. And then someone come and say, no, we can like detox it for you. Let me take a chainsaw. Use a chainsaw to fix that problem? Are you crazy? Right? Magic is not the tool to fix these kind of like physical health issue. Okay, so if you ate something that that combines together, it becomes poison, right? For example, some people say like you eat crab and tomato or something like that. I forgot. Like something and crab, right? Combined together, you get food poison, right? Something like that. I remember one. The shrimp, right? Some people eat like a lot of shrimp, and they also drink orange juice at the same time. Like that two combined will give you food poison, and I've seen it because one of my ex cousin got poisoned like that and went into the hospital. He was like eating a lot of shrimp in a buffet, and at the same time he was like drinking orange juice. So that night it was like so painful and went to the hospital. So that's what happened. Okay, this kind of thing when that happened, don't even think about using magic to fix the problem. It doesn't work. You need physical help. You need like the physical. way of medicine, like those doctors and stuff to help you, okay? Not using magic. So, same thing as my previous talk show. I was talking about this case where people using olive oil and think that it will like deal with the evil things inside people. Crazy, right? The frog slime, whatever things that is like so disgusting. It's so gross, and people kind of think that because the thing is what the frog use to ward off animals. So it should be like if you consume it or rub it on yourself, then it will like ward off other bad stuff too. Okay, that's what happened with the ignorance and uneducated people in the ancient time where they're not educated. Okay, they're not knowledgeable, so they see what happened outside. For example, people will well, this is very naturally done, okay? People see, oh, the tiger like is so powerful. How can the tiger ward off its enemy? The tiger will like rah. Okay, so now when they want to add power to ward off their enemy, they make the same sound. Let me just imitate. Rah, wah, ha. Right? And then they believe that sound is going to help them repel the evils, and that is how a lot of like belief system come to life in the ancient time. It's not wrong, okay? Like it's a process to understanding real magic, but it's definitely not the truth. It's not the sound itself that works, and definitely not the slime itself that works. Things that can ward off insect doesn't mean it ward off human, right? Things that can ward off human doesn't mean it ward off evil spirit. Okay, so these people are taking things as a metaphor. Okay, like, oh, I'm taking something that like the metaphor is I'm taking something that can ward off the enemy of this animal. And I believe if I use it on my own body, it will help me ward off enemy of myself. Like a metaphor, a symbolic thing that they're trying to say. Okay, that's what they're trying to say. And well, what you don't get, or what most people don't get, is they just take that part, okay, and believe that it is the substance that has the power. What are they missing? I'm not sure about the individual tribe or practice, but like in reality, if you're like really knowing magic, you should know you have some kind of upper, higher power. It could be called a god or whatever, a lord or something, right? Some beings, something higher in a higher dimension that you're talking with. The substance or the whatever things you use, even rice and beans and things like that, it's only a way to communicate with that higher power and let that higher power understand what you need. It's a code. Okay, it's like I use red because here red means power. I use blue because blue means calm down. You can use color. You don't need to use the frog slime. You can use anything as long as you can communicate with your God or whatever you want to call that thing, okay? You don't like the word God, call it deity. You don't like deity, call that Buddha. You don't like Buddha, call that whatever thing. Right? Everyone has a word for it, but it's the higher being above that is giving you the actual help, okay? The wrong or offshoots are always going wrong because they try to go scientific. They're like, oh, we don't believe in God and those higher powers. I cannot even see it. I believe in the actual substance. It must be this substance has the chemicals and this, and is like going to work. When you think like that, you're like going all wrong. Yeah, it's all wrong. It's not going to work. Okay, that's what makes people crazy because they start to believe a rock have energy, crystals are going to help you, burning this grass is going to have this effect. It doesn't work like that. Okay, any like witchcraft or whatever anything outside, right? When people are into magic, rituals, and things like that, and they believe by using like a rock, a crystal, burning some herb will have magical power because of the substance. I look at those and I can only laugh myself like so loud. I can just laugh. It's like so ignorant. They ignore the actual power source. When the practice just started, they always have a higher power. Now, why a lot of people are falling into like believing the substance? Because they don't find a real teacher. A lot of the witchcraft and stuff like that out there, right? It's like open source. They put it in books with the methods, and then they promote it, and then people like it, and they just like read the book and do it themselves. And some of those people who like DIY, like they look at the books and combine things and collect things, and then they do it themselves, and then they start teaching louder than the actual teacher that knows stuff. So the actual teacher that actually knows the real thing is not going famous. But the people who are ignorant and start combining things together get famous. Just like we say, the garbage is always like louder than the actual real thing, right? Like knockoff. Knockoff sells more than the actual authentic ones. So that's what happened. And then, internet, right? A lot of people are like just staying at home looking for freebies because they all have commitment issue. Oh, I need to learn that and I need to like do this and pay that much money. Well, I have a choice. I can just learn it from a book. $2, subscribe to this. I can buy a few books. It's free. Everything is free. Why don't I go like this? You know what this mindset brings you? Cheap ass mindset, right? You think you want to save money. I don't want to commit. I can be smarter by just getting some freebies and like I can do it too. Well, you are going to be like this kind of guy using the frog slime, the spider powder, the crystal, right? Or whatever garbage out there, just mix it into a pot and believe you're doing magic. Well, you're not doing magic. You're fooling yourself. These people are fools. They are fooling themselves to believe in the substance will have magical power, and they don't. The magical power doesn't come from the substance, it comes from the God that you believe will help you. And that, like in the East, okay, like Eastern, as in like the religion and the practice, they still heavily emphasize on like believing a God and things like that, a higher power. Okay, different names, different religion, same deal, right? A higher power. They believe in that. In the West, it's a disaster. Why? Because the education problem. Okay, like most of the time when you talk about religion, either you go Catholic Christian or Muslim or none. Okay, well, usually like that, right? USA, Canada. You're not educated in school for these things. So you're more educated toward like science, chemistry, biology, that kind of thing, right? Well, you grow up, you believe in that. Okay, then you're kind of like tuning in a way to think it must be the chemicals in things that work. It must be like the physical element that works. You have been washed by science. That's why you understand these things wrongly. And then you go and do a little bit of research, and then you start to mix, and then you apply that concept that school teach you, right? Concept in school is like you go research, and then they always teach you what? Use the least amount of capital to earn the maximum profit. Disastrous. The American way of thinking, right? Use the least to earn the most. What does that translate to? Cheap ass. You are a cheap ass. You don't want to output, you want to output the least for the most, and you're being taught from the beginning this is smart. But to me, this is stupid. It's not smart. Okay? You feel that you're outputting less for more, but is it really more coming back? Not really. You're losing a lot. You're losing a lot of time. You're wasting time. Instead, if you output more and commit more to like a real teacher of that path, right? And you learn, what are you getting? You don't waste time. You don't have to correct yourself later, and you go straight into the actual thing and not risking yourself falling into one of these like fools trap, using the frog slime and whatever. It's crazy, right? You get the idea. Like, you have to commit to learn something for real. You can't just learn from home by watching things online yourself, right? Like some of like a bunch of people are like this. They like to watch my video and they think that I can just learn by watching your video. I don't need to ordain or initiate. These people are like so wasting their time. I tell them, right? Even you watch my video for 10 years, so you're not going to be learning like a disciple inside my lineage. First of all, you don't have a power source. I am not connecting you to our power source. So you're not actually learning anything, and nothing can be applied, nothing can be used. Because all the stuff that I teach in videos, they're like common sense stuff, like they're like things that everyone can just listen and benefit a bit from it, but you're not using them. Right? It's not the actual gem that we have in the lineage. These are like surface stuff, right? They're not taught to disciples, they're taught to the public. So if you are actually a disciple, you have the connection to the power. You can withdraw the power to help yourself improve life, solve problem. These things you cannot get from the outside. You must commit. With real commitment, you have real fruit. So, guys, learn from the news, right? Don't fall into this group. Don't keep like digging into things in life with this cheap mindset. Cheapo mindset is a disaster, especially when you keep saying, "I'm so smart. I use the least to win or earn the most." Don't teach your children this kind of toxic mindset. Don't do that. Sometimes it's okay to output more if the result is going to give you some better fruit. What are you getting as fruit? And also, don't just look at money. Sometimes people think that I'm outputting money, a lot of money. What about time? You waste time, and that is like not wealth. Are you not wasting that? Right? Time is also precious because it doesn't come back. You waste 2 hours today, you don't have that 2 hours in your life anymore. It doesn't come back. You wasted money, you can earn money again. You don't realize that? So if you learn something wrong, you wasted your time learning the wrong thing, and later on when you found the right teacher, the teacher have to like use double or triple the amount of effort and time to correct you, to overwrite the wrong stuff inside you, like bad habits. You try to get rid of bad habit, it takes more effort than learning it. My disciples have like this thing with the chanting, right? They learn the chanting and they don't check with me, right? And then they chanted it wrongly with a wrong pitch, wrong tone, or whatever. And they keep doing it on their own for the whole few months. And later, when I find out, oh, you got wrong, I teach them the right one. Oh, mine. It takes so much effort to like change them back to the right one because it takes so much effort to correct someone. And if they have updated me when they just learn it on the day one, right? I correct them right away. It's not going to build up the bad habit and they won't waste all that time. Well, most people don't see it. It's a vision problem. With longer vision, better wisdom, you will see you have saved a lot of time in your life. Don't fall into these traps believing that it's like the substance that has magical power. It's never like that. No matter what religion, what path, it's always not the substance that gives you magical powers. Okay, our timer is up. We'll see you in the next episode. Bye.